Okay guys, so in today's video, as promised, I decided to take a trip down to memory lane with you guys and talk a little bit about the big trade that went down back in June of 2017. You know, the Drouin and Sergachev trade. I'm going to show you guys a poll that I made last night within the community when I asked everybody, hey, how do you feel about the trade nowadays? And we're going to open up this big old can of worms in this whole video. But first, before we begin, if you guys are a fan of the Habs, or you rock a similar haircut as John Miro right now, then please consider subscribing to my channel, as I upload hockey content daily and would really enjoy having some more you June bugs tag along for the ride. Now, let's go right ahead and bring up the details of this trade that were released on Montreal's Twitter handle the day of the trade. Boom! So, what do we got here? June 15th, 2017. Can you remember what you were doing on that day? Huh? Because I sure as hell can't. The Canadiens acquired Jonathan Drouin plus a conditional 6th round pick in 2018 from the Tampa Bay Lightning in return for Mikhail Sergachev plus a conditional 2nd round pick in 2018 again. So there you have it. That was the blueprint of the deal. Now, how have they both performed for their respective teams since this deal? Well, don't you worry your little head, because I've got you covered. Check it out. Some real fancy shit here. We got some player statistics from the old NHL Pokedex to take a look at. And I know what you're thinking. It's kind of hard to compare a forward to a defenseman. It's pretty much apples and oranges. But we're going to have a look here anyway, because it's hard to gauge their performance without taking a peekaboo at their numbers, right? Now, the first thing of note here, let's just get it right out of the way. Drouin is 3 years older than Sergachev. Drouin is 26 years old, while Sergachev is 23 years young. Drouin was drafted in 2013. He was the 3rd overall pick that year, while Sergachev was drafted in 2016, and he was the 9th overall pick for the Habs that year. So let's take a look at Drouin's numbers first here. You know, everybody knows he had a little bit of a rocky relationship with the Tampa Bay Lightning behind the scenes. There was some animosity going on between both camps, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to get into that. But his last season in Tampa, he had a good year. Despite being minus 13, he did put up 53 points, which includes 21 goals. And I mean, whether you like him or not, he hasn't hit that 20-goal plateau since becoming a member of the Habs. And that's worth noting, although he did hit 53 points once more in the 2018-2019 season. Now, last season, before he got injured and COVID pretty much hit everybody over the head like a sack of potatoes, I thought Drouin was having a good start. And then this year, before he took his personal leave, he had 2 goals, which made a lot of people shit nails over, but he did have 21 nice assists, giving him 23 points in 44 games. Now, on the other side of the wall here, we've got Mikhail Sergachev, and he would only get to play a whopping 4 games for Montreal before being shipped off to Tampa Bay in a cardboard box at the bottom of an airplane. But when he arrived and played his first full season, the guy managed to put up 40 points in his first year. Remember that? There was a lot of Habs fans with chapped asses that year. Now, he didn't manage to hit 40 points since then, but if you look at his point totals for this season, he had 30 points in 56 games, so who knows? Maybe if the entire season had played out, he might have got the job done. Now, John Cooper is literally praising the shit out of this guy all the time. Didn't he say this season that Sergachev was one of his most improved defensemen? I don't know. I thought I read that somewhere, okay? Just throwing that out there. Sergachev also has some pretty good numbers in the playoffs. I mean, talk about last year. The guy had 10 points in 25 playoff games. And for a defenseman, I mean, that is pretty much beast mode production-wise. And fast forward to this year, he's also making a big impact on his team during this playoff run. From the games I've watched, Tampa versus Montreal, he is definitely noticeable. And it's a damn shame that Drouin hasn't been able to make a mark here during the postseason with Montreal, as it would have really made a fun storyline during this series. So, back to last night. I asked over 300 grasshoppers if they were happy with the Drouin trade or not, and the grasshoppers, they have spoken. So let's have a look at what they had to say. We've got 323 votes. 15% of fans on this channel are saying that they're happy with Drouin, and 85% are saying, I wish this trade never happened, and Montreal kept Sergachev. Now, yeah, I'm also asking people this at a terrible time. Drouin is not even playing, and Sergachev is on a rampage. So we're definitely going to do this again, maybe a year down the road, maybe 2 years down the road. Of course, if Drouin is still a Hab, and we'll see what the results look like then. There were like 12 comments in the comment section of this community poll, and let's see what everybody had to say. Starting off with a member of this channel, GGR. Thank you for your support, War Veteran. Goalie Girls Rule would say, I'm a huge Drouin fan. I watched him all the time in Halifax, but watching Sergachev in the playoffs has changed my mind about the trade. He is exactly what the Habs need right now. Drouin has dropped the ball and hasn't come close to expectations after his first season in Montreal. I hate to say it, but we lost that deal. That's a pretty neat perspective, and from the poll results, I think a lot of guys are in your corner. Slippery Nod, who I'm pretty sure used to be named Slippery Noodle, would say, even at the time, the trade seemed a little bit risky, and it has worked out horribly. Drouin is gone for personal reasons as far as I know. It's not his fault, but it still sucks. And yeah, that's hard to argue as well. It's not his fault, but it does suck, man. Tony Mediati. I don't know if I pronounced that name right, but geez, that had a nice ring to it. The only reason why they did that trade was because they needed a French name added to the roster. Big mistake. I would have loved to see Sergachev in Montreal. Gino Ojik would say, I wonder if Drouin would have been the 40 goal scorer people thought he would have been in a small hockey market city. Maybe you're right, and maybe that's where he is destined to play. Center Heist. I like that silent H. Said this was the first trade Bergevin got fleeced on, and I understand how some people could have been fans of Drouin when he was a Moosehead. I was then as well, but my views changed when I watched him play for Tampa. It was clear what type of player he was going to be there. Bergevin should have known better, but what I think is wrong is Bergevin's advisors, Timmins, and the scouting staff. That's why we failed in the draft so badly for so many years. I realized Nathan was a big part of why Drouin looked so good as a Moosehead. Nathan McKinnon, by the way, he's talking about, is a pure goal scorer, and Drouin is a setup guy, not a goal scorer. This ingredient worked well together in Halifax. Sergachev, however, is a generational defenseman. He'll be great for a long time to come and was what we need right now. And you know something? That's it. Drouin is a great setup man. He's proven that before. He's had 21 assists this season. But yeah, if he does play next season, then I'm going to be interested to see what he can do with a guy like Caulfield on his wing. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Alex Clark would say it's definitely not a highlight in Bergie's career. Moving on, we've got my man, Philip St. Laurent, another member of the Grasshopper crew. Philip says, we are always whining about Quebec-born players or stars. Whatever. This was a good gamble. Plus, he's not done. He's not old. He hasn't retired. Remember the old Russian players may go back to the KHL argument? Took 7 years to get Emelin over. And Philip, I'll agree with you, man. And he's got a point. Okay, Drouin hasn't retired. He's not done. Chances are he's probably going to be back with the Habs next season. And hey, my intention again was not to rip on the guy. And I want Drouin next season to have a good year. I want him to come unglued. 60 to 70 points playing with Suzuki and someone else. Toffoli, Caulfield, I don't know. But it would be good. Next up, we've got the Kitty or the Kiati. They're saying Habs needed a scoring forward center at the time. They had Subban and Markov at the time. Hindsight is 2020. It looked like it could have been an even hockey trade. Risk was involved. You gotta take chances sometimes. Way she goes, way she effing goes. And you know what? He's right. Hindsight is always 2020. It's easy to say things now. At the time, things were a little different. So yeah, moving on. We've got Mr. Slave, right? Mr. Steve, actually. Mr. Steve would say, why are you not allowed to bash Drouin? Every guy that makes a video about him is so soft. You know what? Sometimes you just gotta take it easy. You know? You gotta throw the bread out to the ducks and let them all fight for it themselves. He would say, the guy sucks for his contract. Simple. If he was making $2 million, no one would say a thing, but he's not. He's underperformed greatly in Montreal, and he needs to be held accountable. Not having the stones to keep trucking for the sake of the team says a lot too. No skill, no heart, no loyalty, no thanks. So there you go. If anyone's looking for somebody to bash Drouin, we got the guy. We got him right here. Moving on. Into the world would say the fact Drouin refused to play for Tampa because Kucherov took his spot should have been the telling sign of his lack of professionalism, and Montreal's head honchos should have really taken that into account. Even when he got into the lineup, he was a streaky player for Tampa. He wasn't mentally built for physical sports. He should have stuck to tennis. Mic drop. Also, I don't know what it is, but the Habs really have it out for Russian players. Next up, we've got Blaine Ruel. I probably just butchered the shit out of that last name. I'm so sorry. He would say this one is almost as bad as the Gomez for McDonough trade. I don't know, Blaine. Next up, Paul Atreides would say, I'm a hockey junkie nymph. Doesn't that have a nice ring to it? Bam! And finally, Tony Radcliffe would say, what is the point of this video? Sergachev is contributing to his team in the Stanley Cup final. Drouin has been a disappointment from day one. Where is the comparison? Well, Tony, I mostly decided to make the video because they kind of got traded for one another. And the Habs are now playing Tampa in the finals, and I just kind of wish Drouin was here, trying to leave his mark on the series. That's it. That's it for the comments. Now, in conclusion, I'm going to say I do wish Drouin the best. I wish he was playing. Jeez. As it could have really made some interesting line combinations right now with Drouin in the lineup. The guy is more of a setup man, like Center Heiss said in his comment. And it would have been nice watching him feed the puck over to Caulfield, you know. And you know, the Habs could really use a left winger right now. That's for sure. I hope he comes back. And I hope he puts up 100 points next season. And Caulfield scores 50 goals. And the Habs go on to win a cup. Hopefully they're second in a row. The guy could dream. As for Sergachev, though, he is exactly what the Habs could use right now on their back end. A left shot, a puck-moving, physical, in-your-face defenseman. It would have been nice. It would have been nice. Anyway, guys, that does it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.